Okay, day 4, leaving here from Loxer Lodge, and we'll be crossing through a section of Montana before finishing the day at Elk City. So points to note for today: we got this paved ride initially along Highway 12, which is a really fun ride to get us to Lolo. We do then have a southern shot along the 93, all for the purpose of getting us onto the Magruder Corridor, one of the real highlights of the whole route, and finishing up in Elk City at the end of the day. Total mileage for the day is 225 miles, bearing in mind that 130 of that will be paved.
After our briefing, we had a wonderful breakfast at the Loxer Lodge, then hit the road. After the long highway run down 93, we aired down and got ready to get back on dirt again. Finally, we were now on the Magruder Corridor, and almost immediately we started climbing. The Magruder Corridor is absolutely stunning. It's about 117 miles long, and you're just in the wilderness for that time. The views out both sides are fantastic. It's probably a little bit more open than the Lolo motorway, but again, easy to ride. It's not technical at all, but it's just stunning. It's flowy. It's probably faster than the Lolo motorway, and it's beautiful. We had several incredible stops along the route, and each one was just even more spectacular than the previous. Riding through these burnt out pine forests was just spectacular, really stunning scenery. And as we got further west, there just seemed to be more and more wildflowers. It was really stunning. After a stunning and thankfully uneventful day 4, we cruised into Elk City to our salubrious accommodation for the evening. It was one of the most amazing days riding.
Okay, day 5 of the Idaho BDR, starting here in Elk City. We'll be heading south by the end of the day, ending up in the town of Warren. Initially taking the 14 for just over 30 miles, and then heading past Florence through the forests before ending up in Warren. Point to note, normally we would be in Bergdorf Hot Springs, but unfortunately that is now closed. Total mileage for today is 160 miles.
When we reached the dirt trails near Florence, this riding was a bit different to our previous riding in the forests. Most of that was wider gravel roads up along the ridge lines, etc. Whereas this was down more in the valley and tighter, not quite single track, but it was certainly tighter, sort of twin track, and a little bit more technical. Still nothing that I'd be too concerned about, but it was just fun and a bit of a change compared to the wider gravel roads. We came out down along the Salmon River, which was gorgeous, and as we rode along, we kept our eyes out for a beach where we could go dip in and cool off. After leaving the Salmon River, we came to these incredible switchbacks which allowed us to climb out of the valley. And to really appreciate them, I want to just show them to you on the map so you can kind of have a look at them. You can see, even on the map, they look kind of pretty funky and pretty bizarre. But it's only when you have a look at this in 3D, you'll really sort of appreciate just what cool switchbacks these were and what an amazing ride it is. So there is the switchbacks coming out of the valley and sort of just weaving its way up the hill to the top. And they were a ton of fun to ride. The forest road opened up a bit and again became fast and flowing. And I don't think anybody can do the Idaho BDR without stopping at the quite famous old abandoned bus for a photo. We finished our day at a really cool town called Warren. I think it has a full-time year-round population of 6 people, and we had a great time having a few drinks in the bar they call the Bomb Shelter and getting to know the locals and having a great chat to them. A really great experience. This is what makes the BDR really great. It's more than just the riding. It's about connecting with locals in communities that you'll never otherwise get a chance to experience.
Day 6 of the Idaho BDR. We're going to start here in Warren and we'll finish the day way to the south down here in Lowman. A couple of highlights will be the highest point that we will ride on the route, which is Elk Summit, the town of Yellow Pine, and then just this nice forest run all the way down into Lowman. Total mileage for the day will be 155 miles.
So we said goodbye to Warren and we hit the road. And we started riding along the side of the mountains. And even though it was a bit smoky, it was still quite spectacular. I decided to put the drone up, and I'll explain a little bit about how the drone works. On my tank bag, I've got a beacon which controls the drone, and my phone connects to that beacon so I can see a live shot from the drone while I'm riding. I can launch the drone by just pressing a single button on the beacon, and it immediately launches, turns around, and locks onto me. So as soon as the drone's up, I can start riding and I don't have to worry about the drone. The drone will now follow me on the position marked on the beacon. So in this case, it's just at about my 5 o'clock position. I essentially have two controls for the drone while riding. One is, what's the orientation of the drone compared to me? And think about like a clock face. And the second is, how far is the drone from me? And I've got 4 settings. I can adjust these settings with a very quick tap of a button. I don't even have to look down, which is why I take my gloves off when I'm flying the drone so I can just feel the buttons and adjust. The drone really does give you just a stunning perspective. Landing the drone is pretty quick and easy. I just call the drone in and then press one button to tell it to land, and I can usually just catch the drone in my hand. The more you fly with the drone, the faster you become at launching and retrieving it, which means you're not really burdening the rest of the crew while you're riding. We continued our ride heading to Elk Summit. For those that are wishing to do the Idaho BDR, I'll just show you a really cool little tip. As you approach Elk Summit, you can see the BDR it goes through this little sort of saddle just to the side of it. And there is a track which takes you up to the top of a hill. It's not very long, it's maybe 5 minutes, a couple of switchbacks, but nothing too difficult. And if there's no snow there, then you actually have this opportunity to get onto the top of the peak, and it really is phenomenal. I think this 3D view will kind of show you quite nicely. So we rode up that green line, and you can see that is Elk Summit at the top there. But if you follow that orange track up to the summit, then it takes you right up to the peak. And this isn't actually Elk Summit, it's some other hilltop or mountaintop, but the views are absolutely mind-blowing. Now, Neil, our leader, had never been up here. There'd always been snow on this mountain. So This year there's no snow, and so Neil decided to lead us up that mountain and explore and see what we could find. The switchbacks are just sort of tight and slow, and this is not the GS's best riding environment. But as we got higher, the views just got better and better, and we were pretty blown away by what we were seeing, but it just kept going up and up and up. And when we got to the top, it was incredible. We all just spent some time up the top of the hill and just soaked up the views. This was Idaho at its best. And this is adventure riding at its best, being able to get to these type of places. We headed down back into the valley and continued our ride. And it really was, just spectacular, just beautiful. Following the rivers, it was gorgeous scenery. So day 6, beautiful, beautiful riding, really spectacular.
So day 7 of the Idaho BDR, we're going to be starting here in Lowman, and throughout the day we'll be heading south all the way down to finishing in Glens Ferry. A couple of highlights for the day will be Trinity Lakes and the Trinity Lookout and Trinity Ridge itself, and then coming around Anderson Reservoir. Total mileage for the day is 170 miles.
Day 7 was mainly about water. We seemed to spend quite a lot of our time riding along rivers or visiting the Trinity Lakes. The rivers really were beautiful. They were crystal clear and really pretty to look at as you're riding along. We then headed back up through the trees towards Trinity Lakes. Trinity Lakes were quite idyllic, but perhaps not as beautiful as Roman Nose. Then we rode back along Trinity Ridge and continued our trip south. The views were quite incredible as we rode alongside Anderson Ranch Reservoir and then crossed the dam. I know I sound like a broken record, but again, it's just another beautiful, beautiful day's riding.
Okay, day 8 and the final day of the Idaho BDR. We'll be starting here in Glens Ferry, heading directly south all the way until we touch the Nevada state line, and then finishing up in the town of Jarbidge, which is notably the end of the Nevada BDR, so a great place to go to with that context. Highlight for today's route is just the open wilderness that we'll experience as we go through these very long straight sections of desert, and then the fun of dropping into the little river canyon that will lead us into Jarbidge. And total mileage for this final day will be 110 miles.
We started the day early on our last day because we knew we were riding through the desert and we wanted to enjoy the cooler temperatures. Now, I've heard a number of people say that you should skip this section of the Idaho BDR because it's boring and it's barren. And if you're riding the BDR from the south to the north, I get that. There must just be an impatience to get to the forests and the mountains, which really are beautiful. But maybe it's because I'm from Australia and I'm used to the wide open spaces, but I love this section. It was such a contrast to ride flat out in this amazing scenery. I kind of find my zen when I'm riding in these conditions. I just go to my happy place and just love being out on the bike in nature. I spent some time reflecting on the week and the amazing experience that it's been. The sights, the fantastic riding, and the camaraderie of doing it with a small group of like-minded people who share my passion. If this video inspires even a single person to try a BDR, or to try riding their bike on dirt, or to explore the backcountry, then job done. Because if you love being on two wheels, there is no better way to see the world than exploring it on dirt. We finished the BDR in the small town of Jarbidge, Nevada. Another one of those towns with an incredible history and a boatload of character. I was sad that my adventure was coming to an end, but I'm super thankful that I got to experience it, and I'm already planning my next one.